Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk with a Vulnerable Angel and Friends. I am your host, the Vulnerable Angel, Dominica May, and I am joined today by my usual guests, Mike and Sharad. Welcome, guys.
How's it going?
If this is your first time joining us on this live stream show, what we do is we just get together and have deep, vulnerable, personal conversations. As of last week, I decided to create a theme for each week going forward. And this week, our theme is, what does it mean to be strong? So I have 5 questions supplied by ChatGPT.
Oh, interesting.
And and if we have other questions from the audience while we're chatting, feel free to drop those in and we will answer them too, preferably on the topic. But if you have some other deep or personal questions you want to ask us, then we will be happy to answer those for you as well. All right, so I will pull up our first question, guys. Unless you want to discuss anything else first?
Oh,
Great.
I don't think so.
Question 1. What's your definition of strength, and has it changed over time?
100% it's changed over time. As a kid, like your brain can't process like what is emotional strength. Like all you can think of is like, can I lift a car yet? But then like obviously when you get older, like there are different I think last week or 2 weeks ago, Sharad was talking about like emotional strength, not strengths, but like emotional traits of men, and like there's certain various toxic traits that we fall into, and I think one of them is um, you can't show emotion. You can't show your real feelings. You can't cry in front of people. Now, that's a very stereotypical generalization, but like some people would classify that as strength. Also, uh, there are, for heaven's sakes, the female body, female reproductive organs. I know. The strength, the emotional strength that it takes to have a baby, like yeah, there's a certain amount of pain that goes with that, but like there are so many different types of strengths, um, and yeah, I do think that they obviously change over time. What are your thoughts, people?
Yeah, I think maybe in your first maybe 20 years of life, everything does boil down to the physical in terms of strength. But then when you mature, obviously, emotional resilience takes over nine times out of 10. In not just in your relationships, but almost I want to say every facet of your life, whether it's professional, personal, whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, though, what was it? Someone told me. I think it was one of my medical doctors who told me this is when I was just started my rehabilitation. They said that what's the point in driving a Ferrari when there's no one behind the wheel, right?
That's a very interesting. I can't think of the term. It's like
I mean, it's a really good analogy because if you think about it, like,
analogy.
there you
Thank
go.
you.
Because I mean, it makes a perfect point because if you don't have that, not when I say strength, I mean emotional and mental resolve. If you don't have that, you don't have anything.
Yep.
So that comes first.
Dominica?
I guess I'm thinking in terms of, how there was a period where, people were celebrating the strong female character in movies and stuff.
Oh God.
And
The girl boss.
and I felt like it was focused more around, like the Buffy the Vampire Slayer type, who are like, you know, the actual like physically strong kind of character,
Wonder Woman.
rather than like fully developed as a three-dimensional character with a lot of, you know, personality traits and like all of the different qualities and stuff as well, rather than, I mean, I'm not saying that Buffy the Vampire Slayer was only the physically strong kind of type, but the way that it was kind of, I guess, discussed, it seemed like it was more in that sort of type of strength when they were talking about those kinds of women characters in movies, as opposed to three-dimensional characters passing the Bechdel test kind of thing, you know? And I think probably my definition has probably changed over time, partly as a result of that, because I was very engaged with that strong female character type, and then was like, yeah, but it needs to be more defined than that, with like all that three-dimensionality aspect. And I think that it's something that evolves like on an ongoing basis. Like my idea of strength evolves over time regardless, and it's still evolving. I do feel like vulnerability is a big part of that, and I don't think that was something that I really thought about before. I mean, I don't know when, but yeah, like I've done a lot of things that I feel like other people have perceived me as a strong woman, and
Just bench pressing dudes on your time off.
no, I mean, I'm not. I mean, look at those guns, man.
A lot better than mine. What guns? You see how straight that is? There's no definition.
I don't lift weights, so if I have any I mean, it does feel like if you're gonna squeeze, like there's definition there, but that's not how I. Anyway, no, I mean, I feel like I think my definition of strong has been influenced by other people and other people perceiving me as strong because of things that I've been like how much strength it took me to leave my marriage, for example, and I don't know, other things. All the resilience that I have kind of shown as a result of everything that I've overcome in my life. So I guess resilience is part of strength.
I think there's kind of Sharad, you had mentioned the word resolve, and Dominica, you had just said resilience, and I would also like to throw determination into the mix. How committed are you to your idea, right? Because there's just look at the political climate of what's going on in the United States right now. It doesn't matter what side of the coin you're on. To fight for your side takes fortitude, it takes determination, it takes resolve, and sometimes if you are a red person in a blue population, or if you're a blue person in a red population, that takes strength to stand up for what you believe in, and to be the one person to go against the grain, to go against the masses, and to really stand out and say, no, this is something that I really truly believe in. It's something that's easy to do in mass, but individually, that takes resolve, determination, fortitude, resilience.
My other word would be courage. Anything that requires courage, and however you want to define that. Like for me, courage is about facing your fears and doing something in spite of your fears. Because you can do something that other people would be afraid of, but it might not be courageous to you because it's natural, right? So, yeah, I think for me, courage is about facing your fears and that is a big part of strength for me.
That's it. We solved strength.
we got the answer. Live stream over. No.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like every time I imagine strength, I think of my childhood in the '80s. I think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dolph Lundgren, Sylvester Stallone, Chuck Norris. But one thing that unites all those men, and to be fair, Cynthia Rothrock, she was like the ultimate female badass, right? Like whenever I think of those, China, right? The late great Joni Laura, yeah, exactly. Yeah, with them, they were trailblazers, but the thing is, whenever you see them in roles, you see them as these larger than life characters, which obviously you kind of perceive their physical prowess, their strength. But one thing I like in all their productions, and to be fair, no one's ever called any of these people like no one's ever said they have a huge diversity of portfolio in terms of their range, right? They're always playing the same person, but the fact that they've done this for so long, for so many years at the top, so that made me think to back up your physical strength, you also have to have that your head screwed on that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to kill this every single time, and I'm going to be at the top of my industry for 30, 40 years. Done.
You know, as you were talking about that, something I was thinking was, you know, with the big muscly types and stuff, a lot of people see the strength as, you know, being willing to fight and stand up and do all of that kind of, you know, physically fighting. But I think actually it takes more strength when you are physically capable of fighting and defeating people. It probably takes more strength to hold back from doing so when the opportunity, you know, kind of presents itself and you feel like you should, but and you don't.
Also, not just physically, but like we see that in conversations all the time. And this is something that I teach in improv a lot, or I see it while I teach improv, is people constantly, just because an idea pops into their brain, they automatically think, well, I thought of this idea. It doesn't appear like anybody else thought of this idea, which ipso facto means it's a good idea. So I have to do it right now. And that's not always the case. And you see this in conversation all the time where, you know, the three of us might be talking about, I'm just going to keep going back to the Wonder Woman the WWW, back to the Wonder Woman the three of us are talking about Wonder Woman. Or let's just say Sharad and I are talking about Wonder Woman, but all you want to talk about is Pam Beesly from The Office. And it's...
Same person.
Well, say what?
Same person.
Who knows? Maybe they are. Pamela Beesly! But, you know, if the conversation goes from Wonder Woman to a mouse, and then the mouse goes to a taxi cab, right? If that's the natural course of the conversation, but you just really want to talk about Pam Beesly, like sometimes people just shoehorn it in, and we all know that social record scratch of like,
yeah,
where did that come from? That's not but that in and of itself takes strength to practice restraint. Restraint is a huge thing that, you know, sometimes the absence of something is stronger than the inclusion.
There's a really famous scene, just to kind of go on what Mike said. Have you two seen, is it The Dark Knight Rises, the third Batman Nolan film?
Unfortunately.
Yes,
right,
but you know, I don't remember the details because I haven't seen it since it was in the theater.
Right. There's a scene where Bane is talking to someone, and all he does is he just puts his palm on the person's shoulder and goes, "Do you feel in control?" And you could really feel the gravity of what he was saying. You could feel the threat. So in some ways, yeah, the fact that even though the strong person is not physically doing something, it could even be in the absence of strength that you show the real physical strength there as well.
Well, intimidation, I think, was more the tactic of that scene of, okay, you think you're in control? Let me really let you know who's.
Yeah.
It's interesting you should bring up being in control, because I feel like this is a good tangent to talk about, like, people who try to control other people they do it because, you know, they want to be strong or whatever, but in effort to try and control other people, they're not actually that strong if they're trying to put their kind of impact out that way, you know, like in terms of manipulation and that sort of thing. Like, how much stronger is it to actually influence rather than coerce, right? Is a big difference between those two things.
Well, I mean, if you're going down that route, it just goes back to that schoolyard bully, isn't it? Someone who's like, oh, blah, 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 but you know for a fact that they're the most insecure person in the whole place. So yeah, it's the same principle, the way that I think about it.
What's the stronger motivator, love or fear? Love is influence. Fear is intimidation.
Yeah, exactly. All right, you guys ready for the next question?
Bring it on, coach.
And as always, if you are watching and have any questions for us to answer, feel free to drop them for us in the chat.
Ooh, yeah, Daniel.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's joining us today.
Yeah, Lego Jimmy.
Been a few weeks. All right, next question is, do you think men feel pressure to appear strong in a certain way? I know we've kind of touched on this topic in other streams, but since we're talking specifically about strength this time, I thought, yeah, let's answer this on this stream as well.
Hey.
I don't know, like I do think this kind of it mirrors film and television quite accurately, I'd say, because like I said, in the 80s and 90s, you to be quote unquote described as the alpha male successful, you had to be larger than life, physically larger than life, right? So there is that. But then I think in more recent years, whenever you watch an action film, a sign of great storytelling is when the hero, not the protagonist, the hero, because they're two different things. Whenever the hero is pushed back, he stumbles, he has to find the resolve within himself to keep going. Like, for example, like I'm sure you two have seen it. Like he's fighting the bad guy, and the bad guy is like knocked him down, and he says some words, and he's like, "Oh, I'm doubting myself." And then he pictures his late wife going, "You can do it, baby." And he's like, "Ah." So
Spider-Man: Homecoming.
There you go. Or John Wick. Right?
First time he faces off against the Vulture. The Vulture takes out all the support beams in the building, and all the concrete comes crashing down on top of Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Spoiler alert, Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Oh my goodness.
I know. And then you see that scene where all he has to do is one push-up, but with like 15,000 pounds of concrete sitting on top of him. And he's just like, "Come on, Spider-Man, you can do it. You can do it." And then there it is.
Yeah. Since we're on the superhero train, there's one thing that I remember. Have you two seen the first Avengers?
Yeah.
Stop asking terrible rhetorical questions. We've seen
all of the Marvel things, yes.
There's a scene where I think they're in Germany, and they're at this function. Loki shows up, and he's like, "All of you should kneel." Blah. And there's that old man who stands up and he goes, "Oh, there's always been worse men like you."
Mm-hmm.
And that resolve, I remember watching that in the cinema and just going, yeah.
So I grew up Mormon. I know it's no secret amongst us, but growing up in the Mormon church, there's a big emphasis on the Book of Mormon, which is a book of scripture, much like the Bible, right? So in the Book of Mormon, there's a story of all of these. So there's the good guys and the bad guys. The good guys are called Nephites. The bad guys are called Lamanites. and it's much more nuanced than that, but general gist, right? So the Nephites have become such good trained warriors. The good guys, they become such good trained warriors over a long period of time. They've started making all these battle preparations, and all right, the Lamanites are going to attack anytime now. Could be today, could be tomorrow, could be in 5 years. We don't know. So they train, they're like superior fighters, and it gets to the point that they know they're going to win the fight. And then something happens where they realize God doesn't want us to like kill the bad guys. Like that's if we do, even if we do it in defense of our own people, that's still taking human life, and like I couldn't live with myself even if it is in defense of everything that we have. I don't know if I could live with myself taking another person's life. So what do? They dig these massive pits and they dump all of their weapons, all of their defenses, every weapon that they have that they could possibly defend themselves with, and they bury their weapons. And so, of course, when the Lamanites hear about this, when the bad guys hear about it, they're like, "Ha! It's time to strike!" And so they come and they charge and they kill. They start killing everyone, men, women, children, everyone, and no one's putting up a fight. And like it's just so easy to kill the good guys. And then it finally gets to the point where they're like, they're not fighting back, you guys. This isn't fun. I guess we win. And once they realize that that the Nephites weren't going to fight back, and they literally like they went out to go meet the Lamanites, and they just knelt down, like they like sat down in front of them and just allowed themselves to be killed for the greater good. And then when the Lamanites realized, okay, I guess this isn't fun anymore. You guys aren't playing the game. All right, we're gonna go. And they just left. And they just left. And now, granted, a ton of people died, but ultimately the Nephites won the war because it ended the war, right? Had they fought back, yeah, that would have been physical strength and all right, like psychosomatic, like psyching yourself up for this whole thing. All right, we're gonna go kill some Nephite ass, right? I don't know how you kill Nephite ass, but whatever. But think about like storybook, religious book. Who knows if it was true? Who knows if it was a story to teach like a bigger principle? It doesn't matter. What matters is the takeaway, which is think about the strength it would have taken an entire society of people to say, yeah, we're probably going to die. Chances are very likely, and we're going to bury our weapons. And when they come for us, we make the choice not to do anything. But putting that faith, and I'm not going to make this into a religious sermon, but putting that faith in something bigger than yourself, and hoping that we really hope that this is going to turn out to be the greater good. Fuck, that takes a lot of strength to do.
Oh yeah. I think about like the world today and how oh, that's kind of a challenge to sit back and think about. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it really depends on the context and different situations whether or not it's the right thing to sit back or do something as well.
Well,
yeah, I mean, like that's the thing. I mean, like knowing when to sit back is a form of strength, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I guess it comes back to that question of fear. If you're sitting back because you're scared, then that's not actually strength. But if you're sitting back because it's the right thing to do, then it is. Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
But to answer the question, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, but elaborated from my standpoint, I guess. From what I see, a lot of that pressure to be strong in a certain way is about like holding back your emotions, right? Like you need it's stronger to not share your emotions. That's the presumption of how men should express their strength, right? Uh, Personally, I think it's the opposite. It requires more strength to share. But probably, I mean, maybe that's because it's because of that pressure to not. It is more. It
Because
then
it's
does require
scary.
more strength. Yeah.
Putting yourself out there is scary.
Mm. I don't know. It's very strange because in speaking from my experience, I actually feel more comfortable being emotional around men than I do around women. Because I know that sounds strange because obviously women are a lot more nurturing and supportive. But I actually recall a few years back, this didn't happen to me, but a friend of mine told me that a guy friend reached out to her and he was saying he was feeling a bit low, was looking for advice. So they were chatting for a bit. And she told me later that her view of him went down somewhat. And I remember just going, ooh, ooh.
So
So,
you
I mean,
did, so that prevented you from opening up to other
yeah,
women.
yeah.
I feel like I've read about this sort of thing. Um, it doesn't really happen to me. I think it's more uh, courageous, and I do appreciate when men open up and be vulnerable to share their experiences with me. Um, but I have read that it is common for women to react in that kind of way. And I wonder if it's because of that expectations that men should be, you
Mm.
know, more
Provider.
tight-lipped about their, yeah. Um,
I feel like
oh man.
in that story, I missed the important part. Um,
Of
I'm not entirely sure I understand what it is that we're talking about right now.
So Sharad was talking about how he heard a story about a man opening up to a woman friend of his, and the woman's reaction. I think she shared it with you, right, Sharad?
Yeah,
That
she said that she was turned off by it.
it yeah, it lowered her opinion of the guy when he opened up to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know why I missed that, but somehow I missed. Sorry.
Fine. But like, yeah, I mean, and to be fair, like obviously, I think we all understand that when someone reaches out to someone, it's natural to want to help out, but obviously at the same time, if it can become too much and it can put someone off. But the fact is, we have this kind of universal stigma that men must be stoic at all times, and if you do. Uh, reveal some emotion, it diminishes you as a man. So maybe in some ways, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, like I think it really depends on the person who's receiving it as well. And maybe it depends on both sides of things. So I think there was a situation where there was a guy who was trying to open up to me and share about some of his depression experiences, and um, it triggered me in a way of I don't want to deal with this. Like I don't want to be here in this supportive role again. This is bringing me down, kind of thing. But I think it was because I didn't know the guy very well yet, whereas I would be more open to it if it was someone I already developed, some kind of rapport with in advance. Um, and so he already had reason to trust me, or I'd opened up about stuff, and so it made sense to kind of have that reciprocal kind of trust and sharing. But if it's one-sided, then I
Sure.
can see how that might be more diminishing someone's opinion.
I think what you said about it all just sometimes it depends on the recipient. Like, what do they want from this person? You know, what are their views? Because again, we always picture that everyone else is like us. And then when we find out that they're not, we're like, hang on, wait, what? And our world falls apart. So when other people have expectations, like there are, case in point, there was a woman that we never dated, but we were on the verge of like being in a relationship. We'd gone on a few dates, but um, I went over to her place to break it off because I knew it just wasn't like there's no future here. You're in a different like social status than I am, and nothing wrong with that. It's just like we live in two different worlds. So I went over to go break it off, and she never gave me the opportunity. It was, oh, I'm so glad you're here. Hey, I need you to help me pick out a dress for my job interview tomorrow. And I got like thrust into this situation where I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing this now. And I was there for maybe like 45 minutes. And then she went in to like kiss me. And well, she did. She kissed me. And I kind of pulled back a little bit and I go, I don't think we should do this. And she got crazy defensive, right? Anyway, I don't mean to put an emphasis on that. But she came back at me and saying, like, I don't date boys, I only date men. You dress like a boy. You're such a boy. You're not a man. Like, I wouldn't date you anyway, as like a defense mechanism, right?
Yeah.
And I understand where she was coming from, and it took a long time for me to get over the things that she said to me because it was very hurtful. But defense mechanism stuff aside, she had an idea as to what men should be and how men should act and how men should look, and all this stuff, right? And her judgment was coming through in a way that was meant to be hurtful, and it was, but I got over it. But yeah, I mean, like we all see the world so very differently. And
I think this really highlights how society's expectations of men harms everyone, right? Like, and it creates this idea of how men should be for everyone, and whether or not they're influenced by it, some more so than others. But yeah, I mean, it just puts so much pressure on particularly heterosexual relationships, I feel like, with women expecting certain things from men because of how society is kind of presented what they should be like.
Sure.
And then men feeling like not enough if they don't live up to that. And yeah, all of that.
Like society says that men shouldn't be gross and so disgusting as to eat the potato chip crumbs right out of the bag. To which I say, take that, society.
There you go.
Side note, Fritos are just the absolute most delicious things on the planet.
I don't eat any kind of potato chips or anything anymore since I had high cholesterol and my doctor said I needed to change my diet. So it's been like, I mean, okay, technically, last time I was in Malaysia, I did buy some twisties, which is not potato chips, but it still falls into a similar category.
You gonna put like oil content?
Huh?
Is it just the oil content?
Probably. Yeah. Not
Well,
you check the label.
Let's get some coconut oil potato chips up in here.
Olive oil is fine. If you cook it in olive oil, it's probably okay.
Even better.
I started cooking with olive oil since my cholesterol issue. And yeah, that was one of the things that helped reduce and get my cholesterol back into the healthy range. So Yeah.
Can you have-
Olive oil and avocados. Oh, we're speaking of which, this avocado here, right here, came from
Wait,
a tree in my backyard.
can you pass me that avocado, please?
Okay.
Wait, that's not an avocado.
That's awesome.
It's a pupa.
Oh, that's funny.
Here, I'll give it back.
I don't think you can eat that. Oh, okay. Thank you.
That's I
Yeah.
don't know how it changes.
This is my sixth avocado. Sixth, I think. Yeah, sixth avocado that I've pulled off my tree in my backyard.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So this is the first year that I noticed that I actually had avocados on the tree, and it's possible that they were there in previous years, but I never noticed them, maybe because I didn't know what season they were. But anyway, nice to have free avocados because they can be expensive.
Yeah.
All right, so have we finished answering the question?
I think we beat that dead horse enough.
All right, I will bring up some of my dad's comments because that is who our viewer is right now. Timmy did drop in for a brief second, but he said that he couldn't stay. So, okay, my dad says, strength is being true to yourself because you recognize your purpose, and Christ is the best example. Yeah, I like that definition. Being true to you, because that's hard, right? Especially if you're kind of influenced by wanting to be liked by other people, it can be hard to stay true to yourself. But also, if you don't know yourself, if you don't know your values, right, then you kind of don't really have those boundaries to stick to either, because you're just like, you want to accept more influence from other people, or you want to be liked. So it does take a lot of strength to stick to your own values and integrity.
Did you guys ever see the movie 8-Bit Christmas?
No.
It's basically a retelling of A Christmas Story, but instead of a Red Ryder BB gun, it's a Nintendo Entertainment System. It's with Neil Patrick Harris. It's a beautiful movie. I love it. Anyway, there's this one kid who plays like the nerd, like quintessential stereotypical geek. He talks in a high voice.
Oh my God.
Nobody else would wear.
I'm powerless without my glasses. Not my glasses.
Yes. He's that archetype. He's like the classic geek archetype. And he's like, what, 10 years old, 11 years old, something like that.
Oh.
And I identify with this kid so much. I don't know, maybe I do identify with him, but I admire that character so much because he doesn't give a shit what anybody else thinks about him. Like the school bully, like all the school bully can do is like push him around, like slap or like give him a punch in the face, right? And that hurts, yes. But the school bully isn't going to pick on the kid because the kid doesn't care what the school bully thinks.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. He likes who he is. And in that resolve of just liking who you are and letting your freak flag fly, you take all power away from all other bullies. Yeah, sure. Okay, maybe somebody will push you down the stairs from time to time, but like you can't really truly make fun of someone that has already beaten you to the punch.
Yeah.
That's right.
In essence, you take away that power, don't you? So, like, yeah, if they go, oh, blah, 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 like, you just go, yeah. And
that's me. I actually had a very similar experience to that myself in high school. Not because I, loved myself and to that extent of like was sure of myself, but I just remember like this one moment where I was walking home from school and this other girl my age came up behind me and pushed me as I was walking, and I just kept walking, and then she was like, she didn't even do anything after that because it's like, what else? Like, I'm not turning around and fighting you. I'm just like, oh well, let's keep going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Taking that, you just take the power away from people, and it's so funny because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they'll continue to retaliate over and over and over again just to get something out of you.
Get a rise out of you, yeah.
Yeah, but if you don't,
but if you don't give them anything, then eventually they give up. Yeah, that's kind of how I've handled my ex-husband. Anytime that he's trying to come at me with things that he wants to try and rile me up with, I'm just like, I'll just ignore this. And then eventually he gives up, for at least for a while. So, you know, that's how to handle the situation.
Good for you.
True.
Good for you.
All right, my dad's got some more comments here. It takes more strength to be real than to protect the vulnerable part of themselves.
True.
You're right. It does affect women to show it because it breaks their myth of protector prince.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Continued. They are being challenged to be real too. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it like that. The reason that women might react to it that way is because it's challenging them to also be real. And because, you know, women also have this, you know, facade that they feel like that they have to put on too. Yeah. It's hard. Like, I feel like that's something that everyone deals with to some extent, at least sometime in their life, right? That they feel like they have to pretend or be a certain way. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, for one reason or another, we're always assigned roles, aren't we? And sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not.
I get assigned croissants.
Oh. Wouldn't mind a croissant, actually. That sounds really good right now.
Croissants are delicious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, you're right. We get assigned roles, and we have to fall into those roles. Otherwise, there are societal consequences.
That's right. That's one of the things I like about being autistic, though, is like we are less what's it? What's the word I'm looking for? Less likely to conform to those kinds of expectations because we just don't, like, that part of our brain doesn't work the same way. It's like, why do you care about that stuff? I mean, we can be somewhat influenced by it, but not to the same extent that it seems like, you know, the general population is.
Yeah.
I feel like.
It's actually really interesting. Have you guys ever heard of this game, video game series called God of War?
Yes.
Heard of, yes, not played it.
Okay, so I was recently playing the one before, I think it was, and there's a scene where, spoiler alert, guys, where
wait, Spider-Man is Peter Parker?
Yeah. So basically, there's a god who's very, very renowned for his strength, and he masks it by drinking all the time, and he's talking to Kratos, our protagonist. And he's saying, like, this is what I do. This is what we're born to do. We're destroyers. This is all we're good for. And Kratos, who's normally this very stoic guy. Sorry, I know I was doing this, but it was more of this. Not
God of War, you say?
But after he has this breakdown, Kratos comes up to him and goes, we can be different. We can be better. You know, we don't have to always be destroyers. Mm-hmm. And I remember like watching that. And when you think of Kratos and this god, both of them are like the alpha male Giga Chad kind of characters. But the fact they're saying that mid-battle, I'm just like, lovely.
This raises another question for me. Do you feel like video games like that has an impact on how men feel like they should be as well?
Yes and no. I think because video games now are so comprehensive and they're so big in scope, they have these massive teams and everything, and I think a lot of time and care does go into them. So it depends. Like, yeah, I mean, nowadays you can just have the stoic, silent protagonist that still always sells, right? but at the same time, if you want to go to something deeper, they're always open to explore it. And with Kratos as well, in terms of his masculinity, I mean, I don't think I can think of a gaming protagonist more masculine than him. And like, but the fact is, like, you see him super protective of his son. You see him weeping over his wife and everything, and that's real, like, there is a scene, not in this game, the one before it, where he has these wraps around his forearms, because that's where his these hellish kind of chains would be wrapped. So like at the end of that game, he lets them go, unties them, and just lets them fall down the mount to say that he's done and he's not ashamed. And yeah, I thought that was beautiful.
Oh, it's great to hear about that kind of emotionality and stuff that can, because I haven't played that game or games like it. It's not really my kind of forte. I have joked that video games like that are about men being able to play out their power fantasies that they can't do in real life.
That
too. Yeah. But I mean, I guess to what extent that plays out for people really depends on, their personality and what they want to be doing with their lives and stuff as well. Because it's like that theory that some people in the media talk about, how video games are destroying, men's ability to function, and it creates this violence in the real world and stuff. It's like, no. If it did, then all men playing video games would react like that. So it's more, based on that person's personal background, what kind of impact it might have on them, whether or not it increases their aggression levels or not.
Very true.
Yeah.
I was struck with an idea, or a thought rather, while you were talking, Sharad, about God of War. And was thinking about, like, let me run you through my brain thought process for a second. Video games. I'm not into video games. I don't like playing video games. It's just not my thing. But I love movies. But what's the connective tissue between video games and movies? Storytelling. We as human beings are storytellers. We've always been storytellers, all the way back to the caveman days, right? That's just who we are. That's how we're programmed. And I think, and this is the idea that struck me while Sharad was talking. I think what's interesting about video games is that even though there is a narrative to play, you are in control of that narrative at certain points. And it kind of allows us the opportunity to make decisions, to make choices, and see how those choices play out. And sometimes they play out the way that we plan them. Sometimes we make bad choices, and sometimes we make great choices. And for the choices that don't work well, that don't end well in our favor, we get to replay that and make new choices. Now, some of these choices are, do you point the gun this way or this way? Do you pull the trigger? Do you pull the trigger now? When do you kill the bad guy? Like, and I understand, I get it. But like, I do think that that's an interesting thing about video games. And like I said, I'm having this thought in real time, so it's not a fully fleshed out idea, but we get to role play decision making to the point where we get it right. And I think if the story is written correctly, or with this focus in mind, that we do get practice to build that muscle memory to be better decision makers and improve our own narrative.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's a safe place to make mistakes without having to live with the consequences long term.
Gee, I would know nothing about that. By the way, can I tell you about my company, Pineapple Improv?
There you go.
Yeah. maybe we all need more of that practice doing making mistakes. Yeah. All right. I will bring up a couple more comments from my dad here. Just random one about I was talking about olive oil before. So olive oil, coconut oil, and avocado oil are all healthy cholesterol, which is why I was eating a lot of avocado to reduce my cholesterol in the past. All right. And my dad also says, talking about alpha men, it brings up beta men and sigma men. So I have not gone in touch with all of this terminology, but so sigmas seem to have this strength being discussed, wondering how men are being influenced to be more alpha. Have you guys been subjected to content on social media talking about these different levels of men in these Greek terminologies?
Unfortunately, yeah. I'm sure at least a couple of years ago, for example, people like Andrew Tate were everywhere, right? The idea of, oh man, if you let your wife walk all over you, go walk over, you're a pussy, man. And 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 to be fair, some people do find that alluring because people are latching on to things to kind of give them purpose, to kind of give them that boost
and control.
And you can't say that it didn't work, because for people like that, there's God knows how many now that's on social media, right? About those giga chads. It's always like, women suck. Mm-hmm. So it really depends. I mean, I think that it started off with good intentions of education and support, but then they realized that they leaned into it a bit more. That's when the Daenerys
they play on the insecurities of men and stuff when they have that kind of narrative. I just have a quick joke. I think there's a level above alpha, and that is gamma, and gamma men are the Hulk. Sorry, I couldn't help. No, I mean my ex-husband, I think, was the first person to kind of draw my attention to any of this kind of terminology, because he saw himself as a beta male, and he didn't like the alpha types. Basically, any man who was confident, he didn't like. Where did Mike go? Okay, that's fine. I think I blinked and he was gone. I'm like, what? I magicked him away. Anyway, it's our gamma man.
There's a gamma man right there.
Hulk's
I'm Hulk. You Wonder Woman. Oh, Hulk, you're so strong. You do what I say. I Hulk. Damn. Oh.
Oh. You can tell that Wonder Woman definitely pegs him. So.
I find it very amusing when a male stand-up comedian gets up on stage and starts talking about pegging as if people don't know what that is at this point. Anyway, so my ex-husband was the first person that kind of introduced me to the concept of alpha and beta males, because he got really jealous of, in time, a confident man, and he basically saw any kind of confidence as a man as that is an alpha guy, even if that confidence didn't come from the big macho and musclies and that sort of thing. Just any kind of self-confidence that's an alpha male. Because he didn't have that level of self-confidence himself, and he wanted that, and so it was so
no, I still don't, and I say this in full sincerity, I still don't really understand what a sigma male is.
Yeah, I don't understand that one either. I haven't watched videos that have kind of discussed that, but I guess my dad has been watching that sort of thing, so he can probably give us some kind of let me ask ChatGPT. Hang on.
Oh God.
Since I'm using ChatGPT to generate our questions, and I have it on my computer here. I'll bring up a definition from that as I wait for it to load. As I'm doing that, my dad's got a comment here that I will bring up as well. He just said, Mike, you made a good point about games giving opportunity to make mistakes safely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very true.
Depending on the game.
Mm-hmm.
If it's Grand Theft Auto, then
the decisions that you might be making in that game not so great. All right, ChatGPT. Can you explain what a Sigma male is? Now, maybe I should have been doing this like on a separate screen to bring it up within, but I'm using it on my computer that's in front of me this one because I have multiple computers.
Why do you have so many?
For streaming.
Bougie. Yeah.
You bougie.
No whiz kid.
Oh, it's taking its time. Okay, sure. The term Sigma male is a concept that comes from internet culture and modern pop psychology, often discussed alongside alpha and beta male archetypes. Here's a breakdown of what it generally means. What is a Sigma male? A Sigma male is typically described as a man who is independent, self-reliant, and operates outside the traditional dominance hierarchy, like alpha or beta roles. Oh, that's interesting.
Sigma male. Sigma male. Sigma male.
Okay.
He does his own thing, doesn't crave leadership or submission, and values autonomy above status. Interesting. So common traits associated with a Sigma male: loner by choice, comfortable being alone but not necessarily antisocial, self-sufficient, doesn't rely heavily on others for validation or support, mysterious.
Mysterious, eh?
Oh, we lost her.
Oh, there you go. Oh.
Are you back?
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Oh.
We lost you after mysterious.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, mysterious
or
or
mysterious.
that was the computer wanting to bring the mysteriousness to it. Okay, mysterious or introverted, often private or hard to read, nonconformist, does not follow trends or traditional roles, highly intelligent or strategic, tends to think deeply and analyze situations, confident but quiet, doesn't need to assert dominance overtly like an alpha. Sigma versus alpha. Alpha male is a leader, dominant, extroverted, assertive in social hierarchies. Sigma male is a lone wolf, introverted, indifferent to social hierarchies, marches to the beat of his own drum. And where did the idea come from? The concept gained traction in the manosphere. It's such. I've been hearing more about this term recently. The manosphere, online communities focused on masculinity, and spread through YouTube, Reddit, and Instagram. It's not based in academic psychology, but more in modern myth-making around personality and masculinity.
Well, give it time; it will be.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It sounds like Sigma male is the one that we should all aspire to be, right?
Yeah, it sounds like that is more the
Now, I'm curious,
ideal.
what does ChatGPT have to say about beta male?
Oh, okay.
Not that we need to go down a long rabbit hole, but I'm curious.
It's asked me a question. Like there was one question or two questions it asked me about him here in response, because I signed up for an account, and so it knows other things that I've been talking to it about. I was like, I'm not going to answer its question.
What have you been asking, Dominica?
No, it's asking me in the context of, am I wondering if my Malaysian ex is a Sigma male?
Oh boy.
Like, that's not what I was asking.
Oh dear, it knows you too well at this point.
Okay, that's not why I was asking. I'm
Sigma male
on my live stream. How do you define beta male? Yeah, it knows about my live streaming because I've asked it for advice for it. So got it. You're diving into the archetypes on your live stream.
Correct.
That's a great topic, especially with your focus on vulnerability and nuanced conversation.
That's pretty good.
Thanks for those words of affirmation, AI.
Yeah, it's so seriously, it's great at doing that sort of thing. I've trained it well about how to talk to me.
You really have,
Yeah.
All right, here's a solid breakdown for how you might define a beta male in contrast to the alpha/sigma discussion. What is a beta male? In the pop culture framework, again, not rooted in actual psychology, just to be clarified.
Yep.
I love it because I do ask a lot of psychology questions to ChatGPT, so I like that it's emphasizes that. A beta male is typically portrayed as non-dominant, more agreeable, and less assertive than an alpha male. But this definition is often overly simplistic and unfairly used to demean men who don't fit traditional masculine norms. Common traits associated with a beta male in the stereotype: submissive or passive in social or romantic settings, people pleaser, prioritizes others' needs, sometimes at his own expense, avoids confrontation and may struggle to assert boundaries, supportive and empathetic, values harmony and emotional connection, follows rather than leads, especially in group dynamics, seeks validation from others more than internal confidence.
So, George McFly.
George
McFly.
Okay.
Marty McFly's father.
Okay.
Back to the Future.
Yeah, no, I know who you'd, but I'm not like, okay. I've seen the movies like once each. So,
really?
Yeah.
What you're describing is textbook.
That
George
character.
McFly.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Now that I think about it, yeah.
It does kind of describe my ex-husband in a way. He was definitely just not very good at asserting himself and just went along with whatever his woman or partner wanted to do, but then was like really bitter about it. Like, dude, speak up. Like, you don't have to be that way. Okay, it goes on to say the reality check. This label has often been used pejoratively, especially in online spaces, to shame men who show sensitivity, emotional depth, or a collaborative approach to life. But honestly, a lot of the qualities labeled beta are the very ones that support healthy relationships and emotional intelligence. So while some online voices paint betas as weak or lesser, you could flip the script and say, what if beta energy is just grounded, emotional, available masculinity? Yeah. So then it goes to say, let me know.
Sorry for making bad comment on beta male.
What's the other word that gets used like similarly to beta? Of like simp. It's kind of the similar, right? Yeah, simp.
I don't know, because I think simp's a lot more demeaning. I think simp is something that where you. I think beta is it's a lot more. It's more someone who holds themselves back, doesn't want to get into conflict. Simping is someone who kind of bows before another figure, hoping for validation, hoping for attention. So it's different.
I always thought simp was a shortened version of the word simpleton.
No. Simp is like,
not in this context, at least.
Like, for example, like people from what I've heard, like I was speaking to some of my students yesterday, and they're like, "Oh, this guy was simping over this one girl." I'm like, "Huh? What? What does that mean?"
That's how I hear it in that kind of context. Is like simping over a girl is like basically fawning and praising a girl and like rather than being like confident in himself and like an alpha.
It's actually really funny because yesterday, but with some of my students, like they're all like in that 13 to 15 kind of age range, and it's really funny because they do you know how they insult each other? They'll call them betas. And like I remember like just looking around going, what the fuck is what is this? And he's like, oh no, like this guy doesn't care because
Yeah.
he's Sigma. And I remember just going, what are you guys talking about? And it's
Now we've explained it.
So thank you.
Thanks to
Yeah, and
ChatGPT.
it's just, I mean, but it's interesting because that now is in the vernacular of this coming generation. So that, I think that's interesting.
Yeah, it does seem to be more common in the Gen Z and Gen Alpha kind of generation of.
Why do you think that is?
Discussed. Because they grew up with social media, YouTube, and like YouTube is and it was, saying YouTube, Instagram were the kinds of places that this vernacular kind of came about. It doesn't come from psychology. So yeah, I think because they've grown up with that as part of their influence, right? ChatGPT goes on to ask me, let me know if you want a visual or more nuanced angle for your live stream, like how these archetypes intersect with trauma, attachment styles, or masculinity today. Want help shaping some questions that guide that conversation too. Maybe we can do that for a future live stream. Follow up. Because it's not really part of what we're discussing right. We're talking about strength per se, but maybe in a future live stream we can discuss more of that sort of thing. Since ChatGPT supplied our questions for this stream.
All right.
Yeah, there we go. All right, my dad has another comment here. The Hulk gives into rage that is reactive, defensive, not love-based, useful in emergency protection of life. Which is why I created Gamma Male.
Gamma Male.
No. But obviously I used Gamma because it was gamma radiation that turned him into the Hulk. That's the only reason I used that term.
Yeah, live in baby. That's awesome.
Yeah. That sounds great. All right, we're at the hour mark-ish, so let me bring up the next question from ChatGPT, which is, have you ever had a moment when you realized vulnerability was a form of strength? So we'd kind of touch on this a little bit earlier, but now maybe discuss it from a specific example if you have one.
I have one. Being able to say that you're sorry. I think that's a form of strength because, like, I'm sure both of you in your own lives, you either have or people that refuse to acknowledge their mistakes because it makes them look weak, right? So when you realize, oh, listen, like I was wrong, I apologize. In some ways, you're regaining that strength. So yeah, I mean, so like in some ways, it shows that you're willing to learn, you're willing to lower yourself to grow. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's the ultimate form of strength.
Yeah, I agree with that. Taking accountability for your mistakes is definitely a big one. Yeah, I do feel like that has been a big one for me. But just like in general, like admitting to any kind of feelings and stuff. I drafted an email recently and then ended up sending it as well, where I got super vulnerable, and it was so hard for me to open up in the way that I did in this email, because it was stuff that like I felt and I wanted to say, but I was too scared to say. So it was another case of like, falling into my fear and like the courage it took to write out my feelings and experiences. And my goal with writing this message was to remove all assumptions that I had made about the other person. Didn't want to have any assumptions about how they might respond to it, about how they might be feeling, anything like that, and to remove all of my defensiveness and self-protection kinds of things. Anything that I might have said to protect myself from feeling a particular way, if they reacted a particular way, or something like that, it was important to me to remove that kind of barrier, because I realized it was just blocking
what I was actually wanting to say or what I actually felt. And yeah, it took a lot of strength for me to send that email.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nothing's coming to mind, to be honest. I don't think there was ever like one moment.
Are you not a vulnerable man, Michael? Mm-hmm.
Go fuck yourself. So I don't know. Like I feel like, and again, the society that I grew up in was very like, very racist, homophobic, misogynistic, sexist, like all those stereotypes, right? And without realizing it, that household that I grew up in broke many of those, not all, but it broke a lot of those stereotypes. And you know, on a subconscious level, I think some of those, um, like I never recognized them overtly until I moved out of my parents' house and I moved to Ireland for a few years. Then I moved to Philadelphia, and a lot of those stereotypes started kind of like breaking away, and I started realizing that's not what I was taught is not really what's going on here, right? And so I think it's kind of the same thing for me with vulnerability. Like like vulnerability being a form of strength. I don't think there was ever one moment, but hundreds, if not thousands, of smaller moments. Because also, I was raised not just by my parents, but in the community that vulnerability, I got kind of punished for certain types of vulnerability. Um, you know, having back problems the vast majority of my life. Well, you're not old enough to have back problems. Oh, a person older than me that supposedly knows more than I do is telling me I'm not old enough to have back problems. So I guess this isn't what I'm experiencing isn't a back problem. Or
Gaslighting.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
well, it's gaslighting, but without the satisfaction of it's
Right.
it's just being misinformed. You know, it's less gaslighting
Yeah.
and more society telling them that they know what's best for me, right? It's me being in a position of I want to help. I think I know how to help the situation, but the authority figure in the room, most often like an adult or a parent, they have more life experience than I do, so they yell at me to get out of the way. And so there was a lot of that negative reinforcement for me as a kid growing up, being told that you don't actually know what you're doing. You don't actually know what you're talking about. And a lot of me just being put down over time. So sometimes I didn't have the luxury of being vulnerable because it meant I was going to get in trouble. It meant that I was opening myself up for ridicule and stuff like that. So, and I think that had less to do with my gender and more to do with my uh,
Age?
no, I think it was more of like a personality thing of I was always this like very goofy and wacky and silly, and I always wanted to play, right? I know it's hard to believe, but I always wanted to play, and me being involved in a thing meant that because I so rarely would take things seriously, me wanting to be involved in a thing meant I can't take this seriously because he doesn't take anything seriously, and it was the judgment of how I presented myself So I think it was more of a personality trait than anything else. But that was just my experience, and I think that was more of isolated than.
When you touched on when you mentioned that being vulnerable opened yourself up to ridicule and criticism, made me think that would be another reason that vulnerability is a form of strength, because you are being vulnerable in spite of knowing that could be the response that you get to being vulnerable, 100%. Right?
Yep. But I never did it.
Well, I mean, never say never. Yeah.
Like, I did from time to time.
Never too late.
All right, my dad.
Let's just say it was a really terrible joke.
Okay. All right, my dad's got another couple of comments here. Every man falls into all three types from time to time. Oh, I guess the alpha, beta, and sigma. Possibly why not psychology types? In some ways, a bit like astrology types, I guess. We all have similarities to all 12, but tend to focus on one labeled.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Also says, being vulnerable seems to grow him, but often takes hindsight and time to learn from. It is the learning of positive lessons that encourages him to take more risks. And it does involve self-awareness, though. Yes, it does. Not everyone is capable of self-awareness. All right. Next question. From ChatGPT. Is there a time when trying to be strong actually held you back? It's like the most challenging question yet.
It is. It's tricky.
Yeah. I mean, just piggybacking off of what I said before, of like just being vulnerable and like making those decisions of like, all right, I'm going to take a risk. And it ends up like I end up getting ridiculed or getting in trouble for whatever. Like this is such a rudimentary example, but like when we moved, we moved houses when I was like 9 or 10, something like that. Seven. I was 7. That's what it was. Because it was 1990, and I hadn't had a birthday yet. So we moved from this house to this house, and the new house had kind of a hill that sloped up to the front door of the house. And I remember my dad put, I think it was the refrigerator on a dolly and started pulling it up backwards, so if it slips, the refrigerator is just going to go down the hill and, hit a car, like a parked, not a driving car, like a car that's, parked on the side, as opposed to pushing it up and then run him over. Right. So, and I didn't understand the logic behind that. And so I thought, hey, I can be of help right now. I'm going to jump into this situation and I'm going to push from the bottom. And I understand where my dad and his best friend were coming from when they screamed bloody murder at me to stop helping. But it didn't even come with an explanation as to, hey, we can't use you there. Can you let us redirect you to another place where you can be helpful? But it just came out as, no, don't stop, get out of there, no, right? And just all that mass confusion made me feel like I was worthless. All I can do is get in the way. So I've got thousands of examples like that, right? Maybe not thousands, but it feels like it. But yeah, that was a good part of my childhood, is like trying to be part of the thing and somehow finding a way to fuck it up, Or even if I didn't fuck it up, I was trying to be helpful in a way that other people were upset by.
It's really sad, I think, that they couldn't even like explain to you how to do it better, though. They just like got upset. Because I feel like the way to learn from those kinds of situations is to be told, okay, this is what you did wrong, but
I grew
here's
up
how
in a
you can do it
community
better
that
in
didn't
future.
have a lot of teachers. Like the adult teachers, they were you do it. You do what I say.
Mm.
And if you
Yeah.
don't get it, you're dumb.
My answer to this question, I think, would be when I have tried to be strong and let go of somebody after a breakup rather than feeling my emotions and expressing myself more honestly and vulnerably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like that has been yeah, like that's how I handled my kind of unintentional breakup with my Malaysian ex. Is like, oh well, I guess this is the end. I will just have to try and be strong and move on with my life and handle things and move on. But I think that, I don't know, things might have gone differently if I was not trying to be so strong about it.
How do you think it would have changed?
Even if only internally, like I would have felt better if I had the courage to speak up without like the defensiveness, without making assumptions and things, and just being like analyzing what I was actually feeling and then properly expressing. I did not share anything on social media, or like I was just like, I'll just pretend that nothing was wrong. But it meant that I didn't have like really any kind of social support apart from a select few people that I kind of shared with privately. And as we've seen how I've kind of adapted since then, like I'm trying to be more vulnerable now, and that's what's kind of stemmed from that, because I'm just like, yeah, that was not a good way for me to be, just trying to be strong and pretend that everything's fine.
Do you think life is different now that you are, quote unquote, the vulnerable angel?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
I hear all day.
And I hope that I haven't dated anyone since then, so I don't know how it's going to show up in a relationship with somebody new, but I hope that all the work that I've done since then means that I will be able to show up more honestly and vulnerably with the next person that I do date. And if they can't handle that, then they're not the right person for me. But at least that I will know that I've stuck true to myself and my own feelings, and shown up the way that I want to show up and my authentic self. And because it's easier to, I don't know, for me, I think it's actually easier to be rejected by someone when you are being your authentic self, because it's like, well, then now I know they weren't for me because they didn't like who I really am. But if you're rejected when you're trying to present like the more preserved or idealized version of yourself, and you're still rejected, it's like, oh, but maybe I could have gotten them to stay if I'd actually been more myself. Like, you don't know, right?
I think it's tricky to go down that road,
yeah.
though. You always play that thing in your mind: coulda, woulda, shoulda. So
yeah,
we're only human.
Yeah.
What about you, Sharad?
What about you, Sharad?
Teamwork. I think I think in terms in my experience, whenever I think of me being strong, it always means that I have to be strong for someone else, or some other people usually. Like whenever I think of strength, I don't think of it as individual, uh, personal strength. So, for example, the most obvious thing that for some reason that springs to mind is I'm going back to an old college project I had in Savannah where it was an art project, and for some reason, I don't know why, for some reason, I was assigned to be the team leader for the group, the person with the least artistic experience or logic or whatever. But I realized, like, the reason why my professor put me in charge is because I was good with people. And obviously, with artists, I'm sure you two know artists aren't exactly the most malleable. They can be quite, there's a lot of feelings and I don't and blah 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 and all this. So I was good at managing people and making sure that our project was the best version it could be. And so I sacrificed. Well, what my professor and I actually had a glass of wine at the end of the show, and she said that it was good because she could tell that I kind of sacrificed what I wanted to do creatively, but in doing so, I made everyone kind of come together and actually got it off the ground, and it was actually turned out to be a good show. So in some ways, yeah, it's the yin and the yang, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
How did that hold you back?
Well, because I wanted to try something different. Like I didn't want to do what the team wanted to do. Yeah. So, like for
Okay.
example, I remember the beginning.
Right.
We wanted to brainstorm what we could do for our show, and I had a whole bunch of ideas, and my teammates had a different set, and I thought, okay, let's go with theirs, whatever. But I mean, so creatively, I wasn't fulfilled, but I got to help out in other ways. Yeah.
Right. So that's how you felt held back because you weren't growing in your own kind of sense of what you wanted to do. But it still sounds like you got something good out of it. Like
it turned out great.
I feel like I should replace this based on that story. I should replace this with Logan Wolverine.
Yeah, man.
All right, my dad's got another couple of comments here. Oh wait, here's another one first. Sorry, before I read that. In childhood, one is less self-aware, so vulnerability has more pain.
Yeah, that's
Very
a good
true.
point. Yeah, never thought of that, but yeah.
Yeah, we are a lot less self-aware. Unless you're my kids. And then my dad says, great example, Mike, of how parental fear in the moment traumatizes the child. This awareness is only coming to light. I think for my dad, it's only coming to light for him of how his fear traumatized me. Yes, probably this live stream has helped him to kind of realize that in some ways. And then he says also, the higher one develops, the fewer you find vibrating at the same level. It is the old birds of a feather flock together. I think it was in response to my being more authentic, and then, the people peeling away if they're not at the same level as me. That's true. But, at least it means that the people who do flock to me are the people that value that kind of communication and authenticity and stuff. And that's it's been true. Like every time that I'm authentic with people online and share my experiences and stuff, I'm constantly complimented for it. So that's the sort of thing that spurs me on to continue being my authentic self, because people seem to appreciate it, even if it does mean that some people I have to say goodbye to.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes down to the old adage that when we're younger, we have a lot more friends. But when we're older, we have less friends, but the friendships are a lot more fulfilling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's got time for that. So, yeah, when we're older, we're just like, yeah, I get you.
That's right. All right, next question.
If I could get Hulk to do that, I would.
That'd be awesome.
Who in your life do you see as strong, and what makes them that way?
Hulk
Yeah.
and gamma radiation.
Because he smashes. Oh, this is
I'm gonna say my mom.
Mhm.
Because one of the defining characteristics of my mother is sacrifice. And I feel like personal sacrifice for the greater good is one of the strongest things a person, uh, maybe one of the strongest qualities a person can have. Um, uh, Basically, my mom's entire life has been in service to her family, whether it was her parents or her sisters or, extended family members. And then when my brother and I came along, she basically kind of dropped everything in her life to ensure that we had what we needed. And this is such a small remedial example, but it's true, and it's always given me a lot of pause to think about. But my mom used to play the guitar in college. She loved the guitar. She played all the time, and she was, from all accounts, from what I hear, she was quite good at it. Um, and then when she had kids, my brother and myself, she just stopped playing the guitar because she didn't have time for it. She had more important things that took her time. Now, there was plenty of other things that, other hobbies that she was involved with. But when I got a little bit older and I started to realize that mom gave up the guitar so that she could give my brother and I the stuff that we needed or even really wanted, I just thought that was so tragic. But she had to explain to me that, like, yeah, sure, she loved the guitar, and she would never change that experience for anything. But she loves us that much more, and I mean, just that one simple sacrifice, and that is just one of hundreds, if not thousands, of examples of different types of sacrifice that my mother made for us. So yeah, I think that is incredibly strong, that level of sacrifice
Mm.
in all of its facets.
It's interesting you should say that, because my dad also left a comment that the ability to sacrifice for others is, again, part of that Christ example that
There
he
you go.
first shared. And he said that actually before you
And I don't
answered the
even have
question.
I don't even have any of the
And
questions.
yeah, you didn't have the chat up. Yeah, I know. So that was interesting. That was this kind of synchronicity with that
All right,
comment.
Frank. This one's for you, Frank.
There you go.
Yeah. For me, I would say a very good friend of mine who I met locally here in San Francisco Bay Area. She's since moved away, and that is actually part of the reason that I see her as strong, because she moved away. Even though she loved it here, it was more important to her to go and be closer to her parents. And so again, that's a kind of sacrificial kind of thing, but that's not the only reason I see her as strong. Like, she is there was a time that she witnessed in an improv class where I was subjected to being touched in a familiar way with someone who shouldn't have been familiar with me. And and I didn't really think anything of it at the time, but she was the person who approached me and asked me about it afterwards, and allowed me and gave me the space to think about how I actually felt about it and whether I wanted to speak up about it. Because and I, like, even though at the time I hadn't really processed how I felt about it, it did lead to me thinking, oh, if she had this kind of response to that, then there were probably other women who felt similarly, who didn't have the courage to kind of ask me about it. And that helped me realize that I should probably speak up about it as well, rather than just like brush things under the rug. And she has the strength to set boundaries with me. Like anytime I'm being too much, she's like, will let me know. And I admire that so much, because it's like, yeah, I need to know if I'm being too much with you, or if I'm being too overbearing, or if I'm doing something that bothers you. Like, it takes a lot of strength to be that honest with someone, and to know that they're going to take it with the good intent that you are trying to share it with them, because you do matter to them, and then expect them to respect your perspective as well. And so, yeah, that kind of, that's a lot of strength for me to be able to speak up in that kind of situation. And so that's why she's one of my closest friends, because I can trust her to be honest with me anytime. Because, you know I cross people's boundaries and at times, and a lot of people do not speak up about it. They'll just like quietly hold a grudge, or, disappear or whatever, rather than speaking up. And so that's why it's something that I really admire as a strength for when people are able to speak up about those sorts of things, because it really it strengthens that relationship as well if you don't react defensively to it.
I think that's a fantastic example, because like there's nothing worse than if you take things and you build up and you build up and you build up, and if there's no outlet for it, you're going to explode, not in a good way, right? So it's something that I think having that resilience to or not even the awareness to say, like, I don't want to do this, or I'm not comfortable with this, and and that's a strength most people don't have, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll just quietly resent the person for doing a thing that they didn't tell them that they had a problem with. It's like, no, but give them the option to change, and instead of just seething between your teeth and assuming that they don't know any better and won't change, give them the opportunity to at least try.
Very true.
Before seething and like cutting them off.
Oh, never see.
How many Hulks do you have for that? Like, is it just the one?
Well, I have this guy, and then Red Hulk in the pop.
Nice.
I think that might be it, actually. Yeah, I think that's it.
Are you planning on getting like Abomination?
No.
All right.
I'll be right back.
No.
No?
No. I like that we're talking about strength, and then all of a sudden, no, let's talk toys for a minute. I think I've shown you like all the Avengers that I have up top here. I've just kind of been attracted to collecting the heroes as opposed
to not so much the villains.
I'm sorry?
Not so much the villains?
Maybe at some point in the future, but I'm kind of, I don't know, maybe on the other side of the wall, or maybe when I get like my own room to actually branch out and claim it as my own. Maybe I'll do something then. But
who knows? When you go through your Maleficent kind of phase, maybe you'll just get a whole bunch of. Oh, there you go.
Hey!
I have two Hulks too. I actually have a third. I have a third one as well. I have a second Lego Hulk, but it's attached to the Avengers Tower behind this red screen. So I wasn't
pretty rad.
That,
very cool.
Pretty rad. Now you have to like attach it to your microphone or something.
Yeah.
Stands so we can see it in frame.
There you go.
I mean, wait. Put something here to stand on.
I'm trying to think. Do I have a Hulk anywhere? I don't think I do. Oh, dang it.
Still not.
No Hulk for me.
Well.
Oh,
Shoot.
no, yeah, that's pretty good.
There you go.
Anything that's green.
Anything that's green.
Do you have like a green circle, like a piece of paper that's green? You could just put like
a green book in here.
Frowny face on.
see. I've got. Ooh, I have the complete works of William Shakespeare, but that's not.
Boring.
Yeah, man.
William Shakespeare, more like William Snorespear.
Oh, there you go. I mean, superhero-ish.
Hey, there you go.
There you go. I'll put that.
Just DC instead
Yeah,
of Marvel.
because I'm a
Hey.
hipster like that, aren't I? So yeah.
Yeah, joke.
Very nice.
How many more AI questions do we have?
Yeah, let's hear it.
No more AI questions, but I can always ask ChatGPT for some more if you
Yeah,
want me to. My dad does have
Sure.
another comment
Let's
for
hear it
us.
from Frank first.
Frankie
He
C.
says, the ability to sacrifice for others is again part of that Christ example. I first shared.
It's interesting.
Wait, did I already bring that one up? I think I did, actually.
So upon, I guess, second reflection then, so let me change the topic of conversation ever so slightly. The whole concept of giving gifts at Christmas time, right? A number of years ago, maybe like 15 or 20 years ago, I really started getting into this whole thing of like, I don't want to get someone a gift just to get them a gift, right? It had less to do with the commercialization of Christmas time and more about like, who is this person? What does this person mean to me? And like, why are we even giving gifts in the first place? And I thought, like, the thought came to me, and tying this in with Frank's comment of, can you pull that up one more time? So I get the phrasing right.
Clicked on the wrong thing.
There you go.
The ability to sacrifice for others is again part of that Christ example I first shared, right? So if the greatest gift that Christ ever gave to humanity is sacrifice, what is something along those lines that I can give to someone else, either be it through service or what is like a physical, tangible gift that this person either just isn't going to get for themselves or they can't get for themselves through whatever circumstance, financial situation, whatever. What is something that they can't do for themselves? And I feel like that is my litmus test for, is this a good gift? Is this the type of gift that I want to do for this person or individual? Just a tangent.
Yeah.
Just a tangent.
That's
Just
interesting.
Just a little thing.
You know what? Sharad didn't answer that last question from the AI. Who in your life do you see as strong and what makes them that way? Sharad?
Actually, this is something that I haven't thought about this guy in a long time. Wow. Okay, so when I was in Canada Savannah Memorial Hospital, so when I was first diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, I was in the ICU for 6 months, and I actually had a really nice elderly gentleman. He became my best friend in the hospital, and bless him, like he was like every time he'd see me, he'd always be like, "Hey, there's my buddy, there's my pal," and that really warmed me. And he was like this really, really sweet guy, and it was really interesting because he was very frail. He too was in a wheelchair at the time, and he was very, very soft spoken. But in some ways, just talking to him, it kind of gave me strength, because he would be talking about his family, his life. And whenever I'd ask him about his, he didn't have an illness per se, but he was recovering from an injury, a physical injury. And he was just so optimistic and positive. It really irritated me. It really did, because I was like, oh, why is life like this? And he was just like, hey man, don't worry, you're so young, you're so vibrant, things will be better. And every time I see you, you're always like a little bit stronger, a little bit faster. And I really, really felt that, and I was so appreciative of it because, like, and every time I was feeling, uh, we'd have conversations about unresolved anger, like, why did this happen to me? He'd always be like, well, put it this way: if it didn't happen to you, it could have happened to your mom, it could have happened to your girlfriend, it could have happened to whatever. And the fact is, he too was he. I mean, he himself said that he wasn't a religious person, but he was very spiritual. He said that the universe gave this to you because you could handle it. And in my mind, I'm like, all right, that's a whole bunch of nonsense, but okay. And but yeah, I mean, but the fact is, I had someone there who was able to take my negativity, and he was very soft spoken. Like, he was able to give me an answer, a tangible answer. And yeah, so super strong guy, super lovely, and yeah, there you go.
Whatever happened to him?
I don't know. I really don't. I wish I did, because unfortunately, after I was discharged from the hospital, because I actually asked him if, like, he's got an email or social media or a number. He didn't have he didn't have that, because he said that he couldn't remember his mobile number. He didn't have an email. But no, I mean, like, he was a sweet guy. Like, his daughter came to come visit him every day, and I like to think that he turned out okay. So who knows? He made me stronger, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What was he in for?
He had a really bad fall, and I think he broke his hip. I believe, if memory serves me right. So he would, every time I had physical therapy, he also had physical therapy. So that's how we knew. And obviously at that time, there was a lot of downtime, because usually at that point, everything would exhaust me. So after every exercise, my therapist would be like, all right, chill out for 2 minutes, take a deep breath, have some drinks. And so when I was doing that, he'd be doing his occupational therapy next to me, and then we just start chatting. Sweet guy.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking maybe you should have gotten the daughter's contact information to stay in touch with him. She probably had email.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was, like I said, our last question from ChatGPT. We've been trying to keep this around the 2-hour mark now. So, we've got like 13 minutes left, which is great. We could just have some random chat. I was thinking of mentioning, I've watched another couple of movies that you guys said that I should watch. So I did end up watching Wolf.
Yeah, how was it?
And one thing I wanted to say was, why did you not tell me David Hyde Pierce was in it? Because you knew that I like him. He is. Not that he's in it for very long, but he is in it. Not as much as James Spader, but anyway, I thought it was an interesting take on the werewolf kind of stuff. So that was one that I watched. I watched The Autopsy of Jane Doe, and I don't remember why you guys told me to watch it.
Love that movie.
It was very good, but like, I just don't remember why you guys told me to watch it.
Say what?
I think we just wanted to scare her, I think.
I didn't think it was that scary.
No.
It's not that scary of a movie. I remember talking about, I think we're talking about like various horror movies. We just kind of went down this rabbit hole of like, oh, this is a really good movie. Oh, this is a really good movie. I think that's basically where it came from. But I remember watching that movie, not knowing what it was, and I was like, oh, so it's probably like a ghost story. Nope, not a ghost story. And I was so pleasantly surprised, but I was like equally creeped out. But I was so intrigued in the mystery of the story. Like, I just needed more. I loved it. Oh, I loved it.
No, I'm glad you guys didn't give me spoilers for it, because I didn't know what to expect at all. And yeah, I enjoyed it.
Did
That
it was
one,
like a
and
crime
then
drama based on the title.
well, I mean, I read the back of the DVD case before I watched it, or at least I read some of it. So I knew it was a horror, but I still had no idea what to expect with it.
Not a
No.
ghost story.
So that was and then I also watched Joe versus the Volcano.
Ah,
Meg Ryan plays 3 different characters.
My father calls me Flibbity Gibbet.
I'm glad that you guys didn't give me spoilers about how it ends or anything as well, because I'm just like, yeah, I didn't really see that coming.
I mean, I'm gonna slightly talk about the ending just a little bit. You thought kind of spoiler, but kind of not.
go for it.
You really thought he was gonna jump in the volcano, didn't you?
He did.
Sorry. You thought he was
did
gonna
jump
die in the volcano, didn't you?
Yes, but that's not what I mean. The part that I was like even more surprised about was
lie.
the lie. Yeah, yeah, her dad's choices.
Sharad, you've seen Joe versus the Volcano, haven't you?
Not for a long time, but yeah, I mean, how many films have Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan done together? 3? Yeah.
3. Yeah, that was the first
Oh, was it? I
one.
didn't know that.
And that was,
Okay.
I think it was, because then the next one was Sleepless in Seattle, and then You've Got Mail.
You said Meg Ryan plays 3 characters in that movie? I only remember 2.
Yes. She is his work colleague in the beginning, and both half sisters.
Hang on, she's in the office working with him?
I'm pretty sure that was her. Like, she's wearing a different wig each time, so you can't tell. Like, she's like short brown hair, but I'm pretty sure that was Meg Ryan as well.
I'm asking ChatGPT now. How many characters does Meg Ryan play in Joe versus?
Because like he goes out on a date with her, and then like with each of them, he's like, I feel like I've met you before, or I've seen you before. Like
I don't know. Like I always thought it was meant to be like this idea of, maybe I'm wrong, of mortality and reincarnation. Maybe throughout their many lives, they've always meant to be together. Or am I completely off?
No, they're because they're all alive at the same time. They're just different
I know.
people.
It's just that's just the way I was thinking. Maybe I was trying to go too deep where I wasn't meant to. I don't know.
It's still thinking. It hasn't been able to come up with anything yet.
It's a very, very deep question.
Sometimes you have to. If it takes too long to think, I get it. I press stop and I ask the question again. You could also just go to IMDb, probably.
But this is more newfangled.
But also more energy intensive, probably.
Yep. All right, I've lost care. I don't care about it anymore.
Did you have a favorite actor from the film?
From which one?
Was it Joe versus the Volcano?
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks, yeah, that film.
My favorite actor
Tom
in
Hanks.
it. Yeah,
Tom Hanks.
I don't know. I like that Meg Ryan played a bunch of different characters. I feel like she was the first one. I don't know.
That would make a lot of sense.
Dee Dee and Angelica. What was the name of the? Unless this was. What was the name of the character in
Tom
the
Hanks.
first scene?
Tom Hanks.
Wait, yes, but like in the actual.
What you mean the character or the boss?
Oh, the boss.
No,
is Tom Hanks.
the like secretary, the girl.
Oh, the girl.
Tom Hanks is not the boss.
Wasn't the boss played by
Very good at Tom
the
Hanks.
dad from A Night at the Roxbury?
Yeah, Tom Hanks.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, he was so good. He was also a bad guy in Commando with Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger. Yeah,
Tom Hanks.
really? Tom Hanks was to play the bad guy in Commando?
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger? Okay.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Do you think AI is capable enough of like actually changing it? I would pay to watch that.
The boss in The Office was Dan
That's the name.
Hedaya.
Dan Hedaya, yeah. He played the dad in The Night at the Roxbury, yeah.
He was
Also in Cheers.
he was in Clueless.
Clueless.
He was the dad in Clueless
Me?
as well, yeah. And he was in. I'm like, I know I recognize him, but I couldn't remember what from. Yeah, so he's the dad in Clueless as well, and he was in Mulholland Drive.
That movie freaked me out so hard. And I would also like to point out that I drove Mulholland Drive this last weekend.
Really?
Yeah, it was
Wow.
Okay.
Synchronicity there. Yes, he was in A Night at the Roxbury.
Yeah.
The Usual Suspects.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was the cop that interrogated what's his name?
Tom Hanks.
Yeah, Tom Hanks. Boom.
Wow, he was in The Addams Family.
Yep.
As a bunch of things, I'm not reading them all out.
He was in the second one, wasn't he? Or the first?
No, it was the first one. The first one, it was the whole plot to steal the fortune
with Uncle Fester, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is he still alive, Dan Hedaya?
Wait, hang on. Let me click back. I
haven't heard anything from him recently. I don't know.
Dan Hedaya.
It doesn't say that he's dead, so assuming he's 84 years old.
Living his best life.
Born in 1940.
Wow.
So there you go. I need to. I'm sure that he was in. Sorry, that Meg Ryan was that first one. Now I feel like I need to know because it's.
Oh, we're stuck on that, huh?
I am. I'm sorry. My dad has got some comments in here, so I might bring those up while I'm searching for this. My dad says, Mike's Christmas point brings up Lent and sacrificing time for others helps us become more how sacrificing for others gets us in touch with Good Friday, which is coming up shortly. Good Friday leads to Easter. Mel Gibson's Part 2 will deal with some of this. Part 2.
Is that Passion of the Christ Part 2?
What? Are they making another one? I don't know. And then he also says, I started coming to support Dom, but keep coming because I relate to all of you. It teaches and isn't small talk. That's right. I hate small talk.
Frank, what's the weather like where you are right now?
In Australia.
Small talk.
How do you feel about people calling Australia Australia? Does that annoy you?
I do that. I mean, I've done it in a joke. Like if you go and watch my stand-up of where I'm doing my full-on Australian stand-up set.
Don't you mean your Australian?
Thicker Australian accent. My Australian.
Earlier, you were reading a question, and I
Australian.
can't remember exactly what it was, but your Australian was coming out so hard, and I wanted to call you out on it.
So strong.
But it was going to throw off the question, so I kept it to
myself. I don't know why. That just reminds me of that scene from Ace Ventura 2 when he goes, "Excuse me, your balls are showing." Bumblebee tuna. So in your case, your Australian's showing. Bumblebee tuna.
Well, okay, now I want to I'm going to reread all of the questions to sum up what we did, and you can let me know which one I was really Australian.
Probably won't help.
And hopefully I won't I don't know. What's your definition of strength? Has it changed over time? Do you think men feel pressure to appear strong in a certain way? Have you ever had a moment when you realized vulnerability was a form of strength? Is there a time when trying to be strong actually held you back? And who in your life do you see as strong, and what makes them
It
that
had to
way?
have been one of your dad's comments.
Okay. Or maybe it was the question that I came up with on the fly. Aha, yes, IMDb does say Meg Ryan played 3 characters. So Dee Dee, Angelica, and Patricia. Yeah. Patricia was the 3rd character, right? I think that was the third one, the main one.
It's been so
The one
long
that
since
he
I've
goes
seen
to the
it.
island
I
with.
don't quite remember, but that makes sense.
Anyway, yes. So I was correct. She did play all 3 characters. It took me a minute to realize that it was her and that as the first character. And I had no idea how it was going to kind of progress. Anyway. Yeah. So there we go. My dad did answer your small talk question.
Hey!
Cooling, moving towards
winter. My goodness.
Mate, in Malaysia,
we are, Mike. It's just we got summer first, and then the fall, and then winter. But we are slowly moving towards.
I miss the winter. Honestly, if I could live in Antarctica or in North Siberia my entire life, I'd be happy.
You want to be roommates?
Yeah, I'm down.
I couldn't.
I'm down.
I couldn't.
In Malaysia, it's so hot. As soon as I come out of the shower, I'm already sweating.
We'll just move up to Cameron Highlands or Genting Highlands.
I'll just get in the car straight away. Yeah, don't worry.
I mean, I know it doesn't snow there, but at least it's cooler. No, I had a friend who was asking me about advice about visiting Malaysia just yesterday, I think, and they were asking about the where is it cooler, up into the highlands, and Cameron Highlands or Genting Highlands, but Genting is a more tourist place, and Cameron Highlands is more quieter. It's where they grow tea and strawberries. And
Cameron Highlands is a lot more wider plain, but I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Genting is a lot more fun. I'm more partial to Genting because of my own personal memories. But yeah, I mean, it all depends on what you want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Well. Noisier up in.
I'm more partial to Ginty as well.
Yeah. Genting, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think if Mike came, he'd definitely like Genting more, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
My favorite.
There's an indoor theme park.
Please believe it or not. I think you'd like
we got one of those in Times Square. I'm good.
Yeah, they have a new place you can go inside to have fake snow.
That was
right? Did they have something like that in Genting?
I think so, but maybe in one of the casinos, maybe, or I'm not entirely too sure.
Yeah, Genting is where you go to gamble. that's the main draw.
It's actually really funny. Yeah. My mom, mom and I would always go to Genting quite often just to get away from the hustle and bustle of KL. And I remember mom was such a really, really bad gambler, not in the sense that she would lose all her money. It's just that she didn't know how to play any of the games. And it was so funny because she would go with her friends, and all her friends are just imagine the stereotypical Asian auntie that just sits there and just plays the games all day. And they know exactly what they're doing. And mom had no idea. And it was just really, really funny because whenever I would take her, I'd be like, all right, mom, we have this note. This note is all you have. And she's like, oh, come on, don't be like that. Let me spoil myself. I'm like, mom, you lose it in 20 minutes. And she's like, oh, it's not that bad. I'm like, I'm timing, go. And I'm not joking. Just shy of that time, she was like, all right, this place isn't working. Let's just go somewhere else. I'm like, you've lost all the money, haven't you? She's like, It was a bad. All right, whatever. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not a casino person, but my ex-husband liked to visit casinos just because of like the pizzazz of them
They're
all,
very
I guess.
pizzazzy.
So like we went to Vegas. Yeah, so we went to Vegas a couple of times, but like even before we went to Vegas together, like after we moved here, when we went to Macau,
Oh, right. Okay.
he wanted to go and see all of the casinos. Like that was the draw for him. For me, it was like I want to see the cultural stuff. But okay, I guess Macau is
Yeah,
good
it
for its
is.
casino. Yeah.
It's like the Vegas of
So-
what, China?
Yeah, probably. I guess. Yeah, and I think there's another place that's like known for its casinos. Is it Morocco? Or
Monaco.
something?
Monaco.
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 Monaco. Okay. Yeah, we didn't go there, but it sounds similar. But yeah, so he was drawn to that
You
sort of
get
thing.
a lot of American farmers end up going to Macau over cattle disputes
Huh.
Interesting.
because they all say, no, that's Macau. That's not yours.
It's a pun joke.
Get this guy out of here. Oh,
Mm.
Cattle dispute.
I was gonna say.
Sign up for text.
I was going to say Macau was one of the locations that was one of the settings in Shang-Chi
Oh.
and the Legend
I
of
still
the
haven't
Ten
seen that.
Rings. That's where they
No.
haven't.
It was also in Skyfall.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you should watch Shang-Chi,
should.
Sharad. If you kept telling about us,
Okay,
asking us if we've seen these Marvel films, and then there's a Marvel film
I
that you
know.
haven't seen,
I'm a hypocrite.
Sharad, what is wrong with you?
I know.
I mean, to be fair, I feel like all of my Asian friends, as in my Asian friends who live in Asia and grew up in Asia, were not a fan of Shang-Chi, whereas my Asian American friends thought it was amazing.
That's interesting.
So I would be interested to hear what you think about it, Sharad.
All right,
based
I'll put it on the list.
Like,
okay. Watch Shang-Chi.
since you guys keep suggesting things for me to watch, and I do actually watch them, watch the things I suggest too.
Give me something to watch. Suggest something for me.
What's a terrible film
well,
we can
you
recommend
did
him
watch-
Like something awful.
No. Mike, you did watch Keeping the Faith.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I did.
From the rom-com streams. I think there were couple of ones that you wrote down from that. I don't know if you watched those yet.
Let's consult the notebook.
And also Bridget Jones's Diary.
That's right.
All of those films, but you didn't want to watch those.
I did have that on my list, but let's see. Rom-coms. Down with Love. That's right. That's the only one that I want to see. She's All That. Buying the Cow. Isn't that where they go to Macau?
Another movie I just watched was Kissing Jessica Stein. Have you guys seen that?
I don't think so.
It's a lesbian.
Oh,
What's the name of it?
What is it?
Kissing Jessica Stein.
You Mean Dupree was the other one on there.
Yeah.
Down with Love. That's the one that I really wanted to see, though.
Which one is
Oh
that?
my goodness.
1960s setting with Ewan McGregor and
Renee Zellweger. Yeah.
Oh, Down with Love.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I like the
I
poster,
froze. Down with Love is amazing. I highly recommend it because it's not your typical
nice.
rom-com. Yeah, no, I love it.
Yeah, really nice. Okay.
I don't want to give any spoilers. Just watch it.
Well, did
so
you know
did I
Roger Ebert gave it
Sorry,
2
go on.
thumbs up? So
Dominica, you were
There you
saying?
go. Did I freeze before or after I said kissing Jessica Stein?
But
My internet cut out briefly.
After, I think.
kissing Jessica Stein.
Yeah, that was the name of the lesbian rom-com that I
Girl,
said that
and I
you
liked
could check out.
it.
It was interesting. Yeah. So you
You know,
can check
that
that one
Katy
out.
Perry song was not that long ago, and that was a little like, ooh, you talk about girl kissing girl. It was not that long ago.
Mhm.
And then before that, there was another song called "I Kissed a Girl."
And I liked it.
No, well, it does beg the question: did you
It's
like it?
Yeah.
It from the 80s by Jill Sobule. Sobule? I Kissed a Girl from 1995.
Mm-hmm.
So we left, compared notes. We had a drink. We had a smoke. She took off her overcoat. I kissed a girl. You don't know that one?
No, not at all. But thank you for singing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for being vulnerable. That really takes time.
So thanks for
Well,
singing.
interesting.
Because I'm
So
sorry, I
kissing-
feel like I'm breaking up.
So kissing Jessica Stein had a budget of $1 million, made back 10. All right.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, that'll do.
It's pretty rad.
That'll do, Donkey. That'll do. Huh.
Also watch the movie Threesome. It's not two
We've
women
seen many
and one
movies for
guy.
that.
It's two guys and a girl.
The pizza place.
Yeah, I talked about that
Boring
one in the rom-com one, I think.
The boring kind? Okay. All right.
No, it's not boring. It's one of my. I really like that movie.
No. I'm not talking about the film, like the two guys, one girl thing. That's the boring kind.
Oh.
Oh. Stephen Baldwin?
Well, depending on your gender.
Double
$3 million,
dip.
And Lara
$16
Flynn Boyle.
million box office. That'll do.
You guys, I think we have reached the peak of entertainment in this live stream right now.
I think you're right.
We have. We're at a little over 12 minutes, and I said that we were going to go for 2 hours and 12 minutes. And I feel like I keep breaking up.
Hey, you know what New York's zip area code is?
What?
212, and it's currently 2 hours and 12 minutes. So that seems like a good. That's a
like a gang sign kind of thing.
Yeah.
212.
The
There you
212 there.
All right.
Well,
Well,
good
I
night,
would
everyone. Thanks for
normally
watching.
give like a spiel at the end, but I feel like I'm breaking up too much. So
you're
I'm
fine
just going
right
to
now.
end it there. And subscribe, all those things. And we'll be back next week if my message goes through. Probably. That's great.
I don't think I've ever seen you without your glasses before.
Me?
Yeah.
I look very different. So I'm
Yeah, you
told.
do. Yeah.
All I have to do is cut my hair, take my glasses off, and I could go rob a bank.
That's a choice.
And on that note,